We are recording with
It says I
Dr.
need to click that.
I don't worry about it. Pay attention to it with Dr. Dr. Fong on Friday, October 25th, 2024, 1:50 p.m. Eastern time, talking about obviously declining testosterone levels. And I think just as a general rule of thumb, like you don't need to have I don't know, a PhD in oceanography to tell like it's getting cold in the winter and hot in the summer, but it always does help, especially as a science-minded person like myself. You're a doctor, I'm not. I did get into medical school out of college at the University of Georgia. I do love all things medicine, biology, physiology, anatomy, but it does help to put an actual, for lack of a better term, physical marker on a phenomenon we're seeing, which is we see it kind of, you know, informally as weak men, right? Weak guys
Right.
who, I don't know, identify as a, non-binary, gender fluid fox and whatever, loud noises, guns are bad, all that stuff. What we know it as is declining testosterone levels. So to, I don't know, to maybe dive on into it, could you please introduce yourself, your background, and then we can get into what exactly it is that we're seeing, other than like a meme, like men aren't men anymore, hard men create weak, or good times create weak men create bad times. But if we could actually go into and you look at it as a blood marker almost, you can actually extrapolate and explain what it is we're seeing. So, Dr. Fong, could you please introduce yourself?
First off, Tommy, thanks for having me on board here. It's great to be able to educate people as a physician. It's one of the most important jobs that I feel as physicians we have is to educate our patients to be able to take charge of their own health, to be able to be an active member of the team. Not to say it the wrong way, but hey, guys, it ain't just up to us as doctors to do stuff. I mean, we want you to promote your health, not just give you like the antibiotic when you get sick or whatever. And so anyway, so again, folks, my name is Bruce Fong. I'm a osteopathic physician. I practice in the state of Nevada. I am I've gone to residency for internal medicine. I am a what I call an integrative internist because I've grown up with a lot of the alternative medicine that my family was practicing before I came into practice, and ended up inheriting an integrative medical practice, and which was called ultimately called Sierra Integrated Medical Center. And we are, like I said, based here in Reno, Nevada. We specialize in taking care of patients with underlying problems that basically, should we say, primary care isn't normally going to be that helpful taken care of. And what we're talking about is getting to the bottom of your illness, which most folks we see have chronic illnesses, and we try to discover an underlying problem and help them to take care of those things and help the body, especially, to build itself back up. We'd love to, if you have problems, we'd love to try to help you out. And you can check us out if you want to at www Sierra Integrative. That's SIERRAINTEGRATIVE.com. No spaces or dashes in there. And let's see if we can help you out. But I'm here to talk to you guys about empowering yourselves. And I think we can start off the talk with about testosterone, and there are other things we can talk about as well. But Tommy, I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, no, so there's, as with all things, you can't always just cure it with a pill. I mean, personally, I've gone through times in my life where everything is, college, I was very disciplined. 2014, I lost a brother to suicide, and I kind of lost all discipline. And obviously, there was a traumatic event, but then there was also stuff that I just stopped doing, stopped exercising, stopped, having any sort of circadian rhythm, stopped any try of self-betterment, learning, sunshine, all that little stuff. When I moved kind of back into getting that stuff in my life, exercise, 8 hours of sleep, get up, go to bed, roughly the same time, eat healthy, caloric restriction, sunshine, make sure you have social contacts, make sure you call family members, make sure you stay moving, all that good stuff. It makes a world of a difference. However, there are also things that just doesn't work, right? I've had anxiety most of my life, as I think we all do, and I work with it. Got to exercise, blah blah blah. Sometimes there are panic attacks, and you need them. You can't talk someone down who's having a legitimate panic attack. Sometimes you just got to give them an Ativan. So for me, it's I don't think it's any surprise to anyone. It's somewhere in the middle. You can't necessarily medicate everything away. I do also think it is fallacious to say you don't need anything. Just go. You're not cavemen, as much as I think a lot of guys, myself included, would like to think we are. You're not. And certain things do decline. Work out harder, anaerobic and aerobic exercise. You're going to build muscle mass. You're going to strengthen your bones. I'm also 34. I'm not 18 anymore. That is a legitimate thing where, be it anxiety or older women taking calcium for their bones, there are certain things where you can't just white knuckle it. And I think that's kind of what you're getting into with testosterone. So could you maybe riff off of that where you do at a certain point, you need testosterone. So it's just what it is. You need multivitamins. You got to drink water. You got to eat. You got to all this stuff.
Why don't we call this healthy aging? Okay. And we can start with testosterone. We can talk about a lot of things, but so let's really talk about testosterone. And I think everybody knows what testosterone does for your body, so I won't belabor that issue. But do you realize that we have studies now that show what's called a generational drop in testosterone? What that means is that um, when I'll use I'm 20 years old. Okay, I'm 55. Okay, so the whole point is that when I was your age, I think that technically across the board, the average testosterone levels for men were significantly higher than the average testosterone levels now for that same age group. So that's what a generational drop means. And we of course naturally we see testosterone levels drop once we hit now probably earlier. It used to be the age of 40. It was noticeable. That's when I kind of noticed things changing. But literally, studies show that after a certain point, we see anywhere from a 1, 2, even 3% drop per year. So I think it probably starts a lot sooner, and we don't notice it until we hit a certain age point. And then me, that was around 40. And we have a lot of reasons for this. And the first thing you think about is that we live in a ever increasingly toxic world. We have things in our environment, whether they're pollutants, things that get into our food, our literally water supply, things that actually get into our bodies. Chemical, in this case, I would say chemicals or other noxious compounds that actually interfere with either our production and even more importantly, our utilization of that testosterone. There's everything's from certain hormones that are added to, like say, the meat that can actually make things, mess up our balances in our body. We have environmental toxins and pollutants, in particular, like plastics and other breakdown products. Those all play a huge role. We have there's talk about everything from radiation that can kind of play with certain things, and that's a little more than we could talk about today. But here's a big one: stress. Can anybody out there raise their hands right now? I guess I can't see you, but whatever, and say that they're not stressed? Because you say that, I won't say you're a liar, but I think you're in denial.
Yeah.
Every one of us goes through stress. That's how our body learns how to actually be stimulated to stay strong. That's the way we're created. We actually go through stress for that. But how we deal with that stress makes the difference between being able to be a stimulation for health versus something that's going to drag us down. And stress is a killer in the long run. We've got to learn how to deal with stress. And one example about what we're talking about here with testosterone is that when we deal with stress, we produce a hormone in our body called cortisol. Cortisol is something that helps us to literally deal with stress. But if we constantly have stress and we do nothing about it, and guys, we're talking about taking time for yourself, to do something for yourself every day to take your mind off it. Literally, I would say almost every person in the United States, really the whole world, I should say, needs to take a little vacation from themselves for at least 10 minutes a day. Get rid of your stress. Don't think about those things. Let your body step away from the thing so you can come back with a clear mind and start to process it better. And that's just entry level stuff. Okay. I just want everybody to think about that. But coming back to it again, if we let our cortisol levels get constantly high, and that's your body's natural response. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we got problems in our job, we got money problems, we got family problems, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You're fight or flight, right? So
Yeah.
you're driving all this stuff. And cortisol is the way you deal with the stress part of it. Unfortunately, cortisol elevates your blood pressure. Cortisol is going to be stimulatory to you at the wrong time. So guess what? You have too much cortisol at night, you don't sleep.
Nope.
You don't sleep, you have all kinds of other problems. And we can go on all day about this, okay? But it's well known that if you don't sleep, and this is where the whole thing about sleep medicine now come in, that all kinds of other illnesses have an increased chance of happening in your life. Blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, all those things that we're saying, oh my God, these are the things of aging and these are the things that take us out. Guess what? You guys don't sleep. It's going to happen more. There's a high probability it's going to happen. And so that's a real important thing. So thinking about all this, we realize that we've got to abate that stress so we can try to help lower that cortisol because cortisol, being a hormone, it in itself is going to feed back in your body. Every hormone you make, it goes wherever your body. There are things called receptors. They take up the hormone. They do the action of the hormone. And we're going to talk about testosterone. I promise we get there. The point is that when you have that feedback, it goes back to a part of your brain called the hypothalamus, and it goes through the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland secretes what we the control hormones that get to the various individual places where we make testosterone, thyroid, whatever, and then then it controls that. So that feedback mechanism gets interfered with when we have a lot of cortisol or other things that get into those pathways, like we mentioned earlier. So with that being said, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but we definitely should think about detoxing our bodies, whether that's physically or mentally, emotionally, that I just mentioned. Okay, but let's get back to testosterone. Bare bones, guys. And guys, I'm talking to you. We have a whole world telling us we're not supposed to be men anymore. I'm a Christian. I'm going to proudly state that I'm a Christian. And the whole point, hey, right on, brother. And God had a role for us. We're supposed to be the heads of at least our families, and we're supposed to take charge and do the will of the Lord. Well, we got a whole world telling us, well, being masculine is wrong. Well, maybe not. You don't necessarily have to be overly masculine, but you still should be, a certain level of assertive. You still should be in that traditional role of saying that, hey, I'm the guy, and I'm not going to be a pushover. The society says that I'm acting a way that I'm not supposed to. And honestly, that's a big problem because we're being subjected to these things. One person put it to me one time as psyops. Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're telling kids to grow up. I have a lot of kids. People who know me will probably laugh because I'm not going to say the number here on air, but the thing is, I'm watching my little boys. Um, they actually, I see some things there that don't sit well with me. They're
Mm.
being told that and and I agree. Be open with your emotions. Be
Sure.
be very state what you need to state. But when you're asserting yourself, I don't want my little boys getting into stupid fights. But like my dad told me, don't start a fight, but finish one.
Don't
It's the
Same
way I
thing.
teach my kids. Okay,
Don't
okay,
start a
it's just
fight, finish it.
okay. And so the whole point is that these kids are being well, it's like it's not a good thing. So if we're having that thought process, I think that's also playing a role because we don't have that stimulation to drive our testosterone. That's playing a role as well. So, what can we do about it, guys? So, testosterone naturally goes up if we do exercise. Testosterone naturally goes up, basically with these stimulations, like we talked about, mental, emotional stimulations. It's responsible, obviously, to help being making us if you will. It plays a big role in our muscle maintenance and development if we're working out, and obviously libido and
Hmm.
putting hair where we don't necessarily want hair, but uh, but anyway, that's all joking aside, it is what makes us men. Now, as a physician, that's all I've been taught. When I actually started having to take testosterone at one point because my levels got so low that I actually didn't feel well. When I started taking the testosterone, surprising enough, a lot of things in my body suddenly turned around.
Hmm.
I had high cholesterol. Somehow that went down. I had high blood pressure, and I was able to control it more with more natural compounds at that point. So again, I haven't, even as a physician who does integrative medicine, I can tell you that these things have been observed, but we don't understand the mechanism there. It has something to do with feedback. Again, to be more balanced body. Men have testosterone as their main hormone. When it goes down, we're going to be in trouble. Just like ladies, when they have estrogen go down, they have a lot of documented issues, osteoporosis, basically all kinds of other changes in the body. Same thing with men. We call it, instead of menopause, we sometimes we call it andropause. So putting all those pieces together, guys, it's pretty clear we should maintain healthy, not excessive, but
Hmm.
healthy levels of testosterone in our body, and not just putting stuff in there, but being able to utilize it very, very well and effectively, right? So let's talk about something that we can try to help you with here at Neutronics Labs. We actually come up with a product. Hopefully, you can see that. It's called
Hmm.
Man's Edge. So Man's Edge is, a lot of the things that are in it you probably heard of. The main, I would say probably the chief ingredient is called fenugreek. Fenugreek has been extremely well
Yep.
noticed in the literature. It looks like you've read about it.
Fenugreek, tribulus
Um,
terrestris. Yeah.
yeah, and it's got some pretty outstanding clinical studies. And I believe they were all in men that are in the ages of 60 or above. And when they were given fenugreek at a specific dose, they all experienced anywhere from 40 to up to, some patients up to a 70% increase in their baseline testosterone levels after taking this stuff. And that was in 90% of the participants. So that's just the level. But we also know fenugreek, along with pretty much everything I'm going to talk about here, also helps at the receptor site. So again, it's not just about how much you produce, it's about how you utilize it.
Hmm.
And if we help the receptors to take it in and help modulate those receptors to get the maximal benefit, that's what these compounds are doing. And so not only can we make more testosterone, we're going to utilize the testosterone better. And that obviously segues probably into a question that people have. Hey, what if I'm taking testosterone? Guess what? You can keep taking testosterone. This is going to make it work even better because you're going to put it where you need to have it. So other compounds in here include stuff you guys probably already know about. Long Jack, which is same thing. You see increased levels of testosterone, and again, the inferences of increased utilization of that testosterone. Tribulus is another one that's in there. Same thing. But here's where we start to put additional things together. How about we help to get these products better into the body? Well, one of the things we do is try to increase nitric oxide. And if you guys don't know it, nitric oxide is the most potent vasodilator in the body, meaning
Hmm.
it opens up that blood vessels, helps the blood to flow, and moves things around. So what we have in here is L-citrulline, L-arginine. These are natural amino acids,
Hmm.
and they are very well known to increase nitric oxide. So I don't want to sound like I'm every product that's out there, but technically we have the best stuff that we can find. And this is all based on our research to put the best that we can in there and the highest quality. But here's the kicker. With all Neutronics Labs liquid-based products, we use what's called a liposomal delivery system. Liposomal delivery system means it's a fat-based delivery system that allows things to get into the body faster. And also, all of the liquids are not meant to be swallowed. They're meant to go under the tongue. And I'm not going to scare your viewers with the underside of my tongue.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you know.
Sublingually. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's very
so you guys talk about
vascularized.
it. So you guys going, why the underside of the tongue? Well, you guys, you probably seen somebody have chest pain. They take out a little thing of tiny little bottle of these
Nitrates,
nitroglycerin,
nitrites. Yeah.
nitroglycerin, right? And do you swallow that type of nitroglycerin? No. Let it dissolve in the mouth, in particular under the tongue. Why? Because nitroglycerin also dilates the blood vessels, and it's very rapid. But you need to get it in your bloodstream as quickly as possible. Under your tongue, so I lied. I just showed the other side of my tongue. Under your tongue are all these exchange beds called capillary beds, little tiny blood vessels that readily take things in and out. So when you put that nitroglycerin there, and in this case, the Man's Edge, things go directly into your bloodstream. And I forgot to mention in the Man's Edge, the most important thing, the mother product, the flagship product of our company is known as IGF-1 Plus. It is a deer antler velvet, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here, but it literally is a growth matrix of various growth hormones, including insulin-like growth factor 1, which is the most potent activator of the effects of human growth hormone in the body. So putting all these things together and doing it in a sublingual operation, you're getting all these things, especially as growth factors. You take them orally, they'll be destroyed in the stomach. So the whole point is getting them all right into the bloodstream is going to allow you to have that maximal benefit. It's going to literally take all these things you've read about that have all these great potentials and really make it a reality, because we're putting it in the body, putting it in there rapidly in the bloodstream so it can go where it needs to go without being destroyed by various means that can interfere. So, guys, I think that from the standpoint of testosterone, you really, really should give this compound a shot. I use it personally. I feel great when I use it. And literally, it helps me to feel the best that I can feel. And so that's going to, so let's talk about what the other part of that I mentioned. Um, so deer antler velvet. So what's the big deal about deer antler? You guys probably heard about it. A lot of people have seen some literature about it. So deer antler, even though the literature has been relatively recent, deer antler is in traditional Chinese medicine, or ancient Chinese medicine, if you will, with written citations up to 3,000 years old. So if you ever see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, you go in there, you tell them, hey, I got a cough or whatever. Okay, here's this herb for that. Here's that herb for that. But they always tend to mix it with deer antler. Why? Because in traditional Chinese medicine, it's known that deer antler is the regenerative thing. It helps to heal you, if you will, helps you to repair and come back from the illness. Whereas the other things were directly symptomatically treating the illness. Hopefully that makes some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's not just any deer antler. The best place to get these effects is growing antler. You guys who are hunters out there, you know that deer lose their antlers every year, and within 110 days, they'll grow a whole new set of antlers. And in that growth period, you'll see this rapid growth. But do the antlers? Yeah, they look a little different, but they still look like antlers, right? They don't look
Fuzzy.
like a foot. They don't look
Yeah.
like a fuzzy little tail. That's because there's an incredibly powerful growth matrix that's inside the growing antler. And with a predominant thing, as we mentioned, is insulin-like growth factor 1. There's insulin-like growth factor 2, things that help bone grow, collagen, things that help blood vessels grow, things that help the nerves, and you name it. There's like about 15 different growth factors that are in there. And there's even growth factors that help to maintain normal growth, so that in this case it grows as a deer antler. But the things that check abnormal growth, so you're not going to, for instance, grow tumors or something stupid like that, right? And why is this such a perfect system? Well, God above created. And again, as a Christian, I give him all the glory on that. And so if we so what we've taken at Neutronics is to actually take that growing antler, and instead of taking the entire antler, the deer that are open range are basically kind of tranquilized. The ends of the growing antler are then trimmed. Our owner likes to call that a haircut, and I think that's a really cool analogy. And so the parts that you trim off allow the growing antler to continue to grow, and that part that you trim off is then you suction the inside out, and then you cold press it, and you create a kind of a little bit thicker, kind of a cloudy brown liquid, and then that's directly mixed with the liposomal delivery system, and that's what you're getting. And again, that's just a growth matrix, and especially with IGF-1 in particular, you have all the factors there that can help to. One of the things it does is it regulates hormones. One effect is it stimulates from the pituitary gland luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone can then stimulate the production of testosterone in this case. But again, it helps to modify or so we say modulate that immune system to help reduce inflammation, and actually possibly even help the immune system to key into whatever infections even better to get rid of those things. So reducing inflammation puts you back in the a better balance. The body starts to take itself back in the direction, and then here's the growth factors to help get you there. So those are just a few of the things that can do. Again, the complete growth matrix, I mentioned things about blood vessels, nerves, bones, all those things are in there. And of course, the biggest component is collagen. So you're going to have all kinds of connective tissue benefits, and of course, skin benefits. So putting these two products together, the Command's Edge, which we talked about earlier, as well as the pure deer antler velvet, you've got a winning combination right there for in regards to men's health that can help us to bring us to this place where we have the maximal, shall we say, factors that we need, the building blocks that we need to have the ability to maintain ourselves to be the best that we can be as we age and as we start to deplete these other things naturally in our body. But and by the way, I also want to mention, because I know that we're not just talking to men today. Neutronics Labs recently developed a women's formula. It's and literally it has the deer antler valve, the IGF-1 in, but it also has in this case vitamin B12, folic acid. These are great for both neurologic support in ladies, but and one factor helping to maintain blood levels. And of course, the other end of that spectrum is iron, which is also in this product, too, so we can have healthy blood levels. And then we have vitamin D, and vitamin D and iron, of course, can help maintain strong bones. That's another factor we always worry about. And of course, there's cranberry extract in this, which is going to promote urinary tract health.
Hmm.
And the biggest one, boron. That's kind of like this really big thing that a new thing that we've kind of seen is that boron seems to have a very powerful and positive effect in balancing in a natural way the hormone levels, especially the prohormones that come from the pituitary gland and ultimately the levels of the various estrogens, progesterone, etc. So this product is a very complete product for the ladies. Again, the deer antler velvet, in particular, IGF-1 in particular, play a big role again to help regulate all these various issues, especially the hormonal ones. And again, like I said, every liquid product from Neutronics Labs is a liposomally delivered product. It goes right into the bloodstream, gives you maximal benefits. And I can't say how much more about that because I'm really proud of the team that we brought that together. And then the big one I want to talk about for everybody. Unfortunately, I don't have a bottle of that to show you, but the big one I want to also talk about is detox. Remember, we talked at the beginning of this segment, dude. We're getting bombarded by everything. Our body's
Microplastics,
really
lead, yeah, yeah.
exactly. So we have to have a way to help our body to pull out. So just to give you a quick primer, you have your cells that make up your tissues, and you got cellular processes. Even cellular processes sometimes are generating toxic effects. We normally have what are called lymphatics, which then are sort of
Hmm.
a sewage in our body, a sewage system in our body that get into bigger, as the channels come together, they form bigger and bigger channels, ultimately drain in what's called thoracic duct, go into the liver, they get processed, they go out through the bowel, and basically you excrete them that way. That's your main way of getting rid of toxins. Of course, we do things through kidney, if that, through the urinary tract for that as well. And then sometimes when everything's backed up, stuff starts to come out through our skin. And but getting back to that level, so if we say the individual cells are like houses, and then a tissue is like a neighborhood, and then we're talking about the lymphatics being a sewage system. Well, if the toilet in your house is plugged, you can't get stuff out. So this is what we're talking about. I mean, right now we're putting a lot of, I don't want to say what goes in a toilet, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys use the word you want. All kinds of junk is getting into our cells, and then sometimes it's not getting out. Why is it not getting out? Because they're sometimes in a state that your cells can't process as well, or if the cells themselves are too, in this case, we'll use the term oxidized. It's having too hard of a time to properly metabolically process these things to be able to then get them out to the sewage system. So to help with that, we want to emphasize the fact that we want a powerful antioxidant. People have taken things like vitamin C, vitamin E, but a compound known as glutathione, which you actually produce
Hmm.
naturally in your body, is the most potent antioxidant that there is. And it also controls the actions of a lot of the other antioxidants, like those things I just mentioned earlier. So why this is so important is that our body sometimes can't produce the glutathione, just like we talked about all these other things. We sometimes lack that because dude, we're under so much stress that we're constantly producing it. It could be that our liver, in particular, it hasn't can't keep up anymore, and we start to fall short. And if we can't keep up, then it backs back up to our cells, like I talked about earlier, and we can't get the stuff actually out of the cell to eventually get to the liver and out of the body. So glutathione, plays a big role. It itself, like it says, is a powerful antioxidant. It controls and even helps to make other antioxidants by getting rid of that excessive oxidative potential, like the free radicals is what we call it, then things like our immune system start to function better. We can detox better, just like I said, because we change the chemical state of the toxin, if you will, and then it allows our cells to more readily get rid of it. Because there's issues with interference through the excessive oxidation, the glutathione and other antioxidants play a big role in restoring energy production. It can actually help with mental clarity, is another thing that we found. And a weird one I wasn't expecting is that it actually helps to clarify the skin and makes the skin healthier. That one we
I didn't
see
know
that,
that.
and yeah, I'm not 100% sure how that works, but the bottom line is that we see that, and it is definitely a great benefit on top of everything else. So again, when we put all three of these things together, and again, ladies, I'm not trying to exclude you, but again, so either the man's edge or the ladies formula we have, the deer antler velvet itself, which is the most powerful, most potent thing that we can help with our bodies for healthy aging. And then let's detox ourselves with the glutathione as well. So these, so I'll call it protocol, if you will. Those three things, and I hate to use the word gender specific one, whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. The product out for the men or the ladies, that combination is one of the most potent things that I've ever seen to help maintain ourselves in this kind of crazy world that we live in. That's kind of trying to bring us down all the time, literally this poisonous world, if you will. And it helps us to be the best that we can be. And it's all done in a natural way. When I say it makes you the best that you can be, it means you can go to your natural maximal state with all these things and not exceed that. That's what these things are designed to do. There's checks and balances because they're all part of what God designed for us to interact with. So we have the natural checks and balances in our body already. So I think you guys, I'm here. I know I talk a lot here, but I really
Nice.
want to educate you guys and make you understand why these things are so important and why they're, as a physician, you make my job a lot easier if you're maintaining all these things. Okay. And so I really would love for you guys to check it out. Neutronics Labs is very dear to my heart. It was founded by well, I'll call him my brother from another mother, Mr. Rick Lentini. He brought the original deer antler velvet to the forefront because of a dying relative, and that particular person who had ALS was basically given, literally days to maybe a week or so to live. Not only did that person live for more than 6 months, they had a fairly high quality of life for most of that time. And so that's where the company had its origins. As research and basically clinical experience was built up, we found more and more uses for the compounds. Again, the company is veteran owned and veteran operated, so we always have a special place for our veterans in our heart. Harking back to the old expression, all gave some and some gave
Hmm.
all. That's very dear to our heart. And really, oh, another event. We have third-party testing of all our products to verify that what we say is in there is actually in there. So I think there's just a lot of stuff here that always makes me very, very enthusiastic to endorse Neutronics Labs because to say it, they're the best. Right? That's all I can tell you. Actually, we got a little something for you guys too. I've been authorized to say that if you guys go to naturaligf.com, that's naturaligf.com, and I think you use the code Frank Speech, I think is what we're supposed to be using. You guys would have some additional discounts in there. I think right now we are offering a thing where you buy one product and you get on auto ship, which is where you get a subscription, you get a product every month. You actually get one free bottle of the maximal power original IGF-1 plus the deer antler velvet with that. And using the Frank Speech code, you're going to also get an additional discount just for you guys to be added on top of that.
That's awesome. And I kind of wanted I mean, you know your thing upside down and backwards, so just respect to that. But I also want to go back to, even just little things about, don't start a fight. And I mean, I remember like being like 5 and my dad saying Carrigans don't start fight, but we end it. I also remember just growing up having two older brothers and a younger brother. my mom would always just say like truly like boys will be boys. Like let them duke it out. Like let them, it doesn't mean again, don't dial it up to 11. It doesn't mean be a bully. Um and it also doesn't mean, quash it. Of course, talk to mom and dad about everything, but there is something very reciprocal and self-feeding back of when you start to be it just as simple as getting 8 hours of sleep and going to the gym. Just little things like meditation. I meditate every day, pray. It does feed on itself when and I know it sounds hallmarky and cheesy, but stand up straight, put your shoulders back, stand up for yourself. This stuff does add up. You don't feel so powerless. You kind of shirk the learned helplessness and you legitimately live a better life. And I'm not trying to like, be some motivational speaker, but I mean genuinely, you feel better. It doesn't mean blind masculinity and everything's a threat. I'm not saying that at all, but it's perfectly okay for men to stand up for yourself, back up what you believe in, defend yourself. And hey, and it's fine for women to be loving, beautiful, caring creatures. My dad brought the hammer and he provided life for us. My mom to this 34, I can call my mom right now and I could call her crying and it's fine. That's fine. It's a reciprocal system. And so I think that's just kind of my own, I guess, footnote on it is like be what you're meant to be and it's totally fine. One's not better than the other. They are a reciprocal system. You have to have winter and summer. You have to have the night and the day, the sun and the moon. I mean, it's okay. And so get back into it, go to the gym, eat healthy, and also if there is the whole supplementation where if you are past a certain age, my mom takes extra calcium, you do need a supplement, and that's where this comes in. So that's just my 2 cents. Not that it was required, but I just wanted to kind of add my 2 cents. Like it, it's okay. It's okay to be a dude. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Be a guy. So
I appreciate that.
yes, sir.
That's so true. Yeah, again, like I always love saying it. These compounds give you the ability to be the best that you were meant to be, and again, be strong. And I'd like to kind of end it with the
Sure.
biblical verse, 2 Timothy 1:7. I love using this in whenever I talk to people. It says that for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but one of power, excuse me, one of love, power, and a sound mind. And we're giving you the knowledge, we're giving you motivation. God gives you the rest, and we're all parts of that plan that God has to let us be the best that we can be, so we can fulfill the word of God, fulfill the will of God. So,
Amen.
and I will
Amen,
leave that
brother.
to you. All
That's a
right.
great
So
that's a great one. And as I would say to people, the inverse side, you also can't just take something. You got to put in the work. You got to work hard. And I don't know if it's a verse, but it was the background of my phone for a while. It's God will direct the boat, but you do need a row. So hey, you also got
that's
to put in
awesome.
the work. Yeah, you do everything. You got to hit the gym. Gym sucks. It's just what it is. But no, it really is to a spiritual level. There's a reason why they don't want there's a legitimate this is historically it's you don't feed red meat to the peasants. You don't want them growing strong. I mean, this goes back to ancient Egypt. You don't let them get strong because then they can revolt. Hey man, there's a lot to this to not if you're coming to power 2024 in a modern nation and which one's easier if I had to rule over one city and I had to impose my will, would I rather rule over the male population of San Francisco or a bunch of my backwood buddies from South Georgia? Just not even remove political ideology. Just pretend it's a video game. You have to be dictator for a year. Which one would you rather project your power onto? Which one would be more difficult? I'm not going up against the good old boys in Georgia. Absolutely not. I'm taking the dudes in yoga pants in San Francisco. Just food for thought. What would you do at a national level? So that's my 2 cents on that. Dr. Fong, you're a cool dude. I'd love to have you back on sometime, man.
I'd love to come back. And again, everybody, thank you for this opportunity to help educate. And again, that's what I really love to do. And so again, try the stuff out. And hell, we love getting your feedback too. We really want to hear back about it because we look at our feedback and we try to improve our products from that as well. So
Absolutely.
again, thanks for this opportunity and God bless y'all.
Yes, sir. Guys, neutronics.com in the description and natural IGF. Dude, love to have you on sometime. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.